Hello and welcome to the Feeling Lighter podcast. I'm Coach Tyler today, as always, with Dr. Lisa.
Hey
How are
there.
you, Dr. Lisa?
Wonderful. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited today because we're doing a duo episode. I almost said solo episode, but yeah.
Solo,
just
no guests.
you and me, where we get to talk about our thoughts and our perspectives on things. And today we're going to talk about fitness challenges. And specifically, shameless plug, we are going to talk about the WeShape Feel Good Challenge.
Absolutely.
Because we do things a lot different here at WeShape than
do.
you might experience with most fitness challenges. But, before we get started, the story comes to mind that happened this year, which was when I was on a first call with the challenge participants, because we do live calls every week during our challenge. We were talking about the difference between exercise and movement, right? And I know we repeat this a lot, so bear with me if you've heard this before, but quit exercising is our thesis here, right? Quit exercising and start practicing movement. Right? And I think that there's a big mindset shift when someone really embraces that, because you're not showing up to kick your own butt or burn energy or burn calories so you can change the way you look. You're showing up so that you can connect with your body, learn how to move your body, feel better in your body, gain strength, flexibility, balance, coordination, confidence, all those positive things, right? So this person gets on that first call and decides to share, because we open it up to the community partway through the call, and describes a fitness challenge that she had just gotten through, which was go to this fitness challenge page, tell them how much you're going to lose, and then in order to join the challenge, you put your credit card in right here, and then you got to commit to losing that weight. And if you lose that weight, then you don't pay nothing. But if you don't lose that weight, then your credit card gets charged. And of course, they want you to continue and go down this pathway of all the stuff the fitness industry does, which is make you feel shitty about yourself. So this is the experience I think a lot of people are having with fitness challenges right now.
That's what a lot of fitness challenges are about. I mean, this is a very overt way of saying, give me your money while I watch you not lose weight. But that's essentially what a lot of the challenges are about. And even for the ones, I've done fitness challenges a million times, right? And even for the ones where people do get, quote unquote, the goal of losing weight, the challenges are short-lived. It's like a 7-day challenge, a 21-day challenge, a 1-month challenge. And we can see some crazy changes in that short period of time from doing extreme, activity.
Crash dieting and burning calories.
Yeah, you can look different at the end of 30 days or whatever, but it's never anything sustainable. So most of the challenges that we see are just about body aesthetics, what you look like. We're going to encourage you, AKA shame you, to look differently and to deprive yourself of probably sleep and food and over move your body so that you can win this prize, this very pretend, fleeting, insignificant prize of
whatever, cash or your body and your
or
transformation
bragging
photos.
rights, your before and after photo on the webpage, whatever it is. And, the results are really pointless at the end of the day. And often the results are fleeting. And it's not really a healthy way to approach fitness.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And, I'm going to be honest here, why I am so confident that most fitness challenges are no good. There's a couple things. So first of all, why did we get obsessed with fitness challenges and weight loss challenges in the first place? I have a belief that The Biggest Loser, the TV show,
150%,
huge part in this, right?
Yeah.
Because people would tune in and watch people lose 100, 200 pounds in a short period of time. And of course, what were these people doing? They were slamming on the cardio machines. They were eating, 1,000 calories a day, if that, to see if they could lose as much weight as possible. What they don't tell you is that these people often damaged their hormones, damaged their metabolism, ended up right back where they started after the show, right? Yeah. Because you're building something that's unsustainable and you're focusing way too much on things that don't actually matter in the long run,
Absolutely.
Right? And so, I'll be honest, I watched The Biggest Loser and thought to myself, I'm going to make a fitness challenge that's going to help people lose weight.
Yeah.
And I started doing that, man, it's been so long ago now. 15 years ago maybe was the first time I hosted a challenge. And it was all about weight loss.
Yeah.
It was all about weight loss and showing up for your workouts. And I've always been focused on movement. So I feel like I certainly was helping people a little more there than maybe just the traditional slam away at cardio and weights and machines. But still, it was centered around this mindset of you're not you're not good enough.
You're not good enough.
You need to change, and we're going to show you how to do it, and you can win $1,000 when you show, kind of thing, right?
Don't put money and the thought of being thinner in the same. Right. It was like, woo, that's very enticing. I did fitness challenge. I had a whole program that I sold called the 15 Days of Fitness. And it was like a diet program for 15 days, a workout program. And it was like, for me, because I also always came from the mindset of like, I don't think people need to be overworked, right? So the workouts were 30 minutes and it was basic movements and it was focused on form and, strength building primarily. But first of all, I had a meal plan in there and I had 0 nutrition education. So there's that. And then I was telling people that they were going to lose all this weight. And again, you can see like, okay, it was 15 days, 5 days a week. So 21 days at the end. Yeah, people lost an inch or two. People lost a couple pounds, but none of that was sustainable. You're not going to eat this way for the rest of your life. You're not going to do this exact workout. And even if you did, you know what our bodies do. Mm-hmm. Our bodies fight back. And so even if we do stick to the restrictive plan over time, our bodies still go back to what their set point, their sort of natural, preference. And then we lower our metabolism and we make everything harder from there on out. So I did it too. And nothing about it was good. Like the end result really wasn't anything good, especially in the long term. So
well, that's what I'm happy you said right there, because I would often find the winner or the winners of these challenges, whether it was when I was doing local stuff or the first online ones that I did, and they would lose a bunch of weight. And then sometimes on the online ones, we get like 3 challenges, 4 challenges, 5 challenges in, and people would lose like 100 pounds, right? All these huge transformations. And it was like they would get really excited at the end of it, and then they'd feel really proud about how much they were able to punish themselves into losing weight. And then they would, burn out and kind of go back to where they were and then repeat another challenge. And then they just like get on this hamster wheel, just stuck in this loop over and over again. Yeah. And it's sad. It's sad to see somebody chase a goal, lose that 100 pounds. And at the end of it, the assumption is like, I'm going to feel so great. And like for the first like week, it's like, yeah, I feel so great. And then it's like, what's next? Or like, I still hate myself because there's so much rehearsal around negativity and insecurity embedded in the way that people are communicating about challenges and the outcomes we're hoping for people to have. So this brings me up to kind of where we are today. And, having done challenges, there is something that I do think is really powerful about challenges. And that's getting a community connected together around a purpose or an intention. And sometimes, let's face it, it's hard to get started on something sometimes. And having that extra community can really help you feel inspired and motivated to take those first steps. And what we know is like, if we can just take those baby steps and we can get the result that we actually want people to have, which is like, I did this and now I feel better, right? And now the feeling better is what perpetuates that motivation to continue because you don't want to feel bad anymore. So when we started WeShape, when we started thinking about what would it look like to do a different kind of challenge, right? How can we do a challenge that isn't about weight loss? How can we do a challenge that is about learning how to take care of your body so you can feel good? And what's the process that we would want to take people through throughout this challenge? Because I think that's really important. And I'm so happy to say that we have I think it's the most amazing challenge out there for people who want to feel better in their bodies and feel better about their bodies. And, I'll talk about the other things that we did to the challenge as we had, numerous ones under our belt. But I'd love to take people through the process that we take people through in these challenges because it was very, very, very intentional. Because if we just show up and do the same thing as we were doing before, we're going to get the same outcome as we did before. So my co-founder and partner, Katie, was the one who actually sat down and said, how do we teach people this in steps? Because ultimately what we're trying to do is, okay, first, let's get you to show up for your workouts from a positive place.
Right.
So that involves understanding the difference between working out for aesthetic reasons and punishing yourself and exercising versus like learning how to move your body so you feel better in your body. And it also involves some sense of intentionality. Right? Like, why am I here? And that one's big. When we get people to drill into their intention and their whys, like it's a game changer for you. And then beyond that, it's recognizing that when we're trying to change the way that we're approaching it, we need to have both skills to examine those beliefs that keep us stuck, and a community to make sure that we feel safe, because when we feel safe, we can change.
Yeah.
And so I think when people join this challenge, like they'll see us on social media and it's like, hey, if your knee hurts, try doing this when you're standing up from a chair. And it's like, great. And it's like, hey, if you want to feel good in your body, like come join this challenge. And so I think a lot of people get this experience of like, oh, it's going to be like a normal fitness challenge.
Yeah.
And by the end of the first call, they're like, they're either in or they're out.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're either in or they're out. And for the people who decide to stay in, the types of transformations and stories that we hear are so incredible. It's like, it's just amazing to see people find love and appreciation for themselves, and also acquire the tools to care for themselves in a much more meaningful way. So let's start out with like the process, right?
Yeah.
So when somebody comes in, we focus on movement. Dr. Lisa, when we say movement, like what does this mean, right? Because people are stuck in exercise and workouts and fitness and energy output and all this stuff, right? But like movement is a completely different concept.
Yeah, it is. And, I still sometimes use the word exercise, but I always... My understanding of it is movement. Like I'm moving my body. I'm using the joints and muscles that I have and connective tissues to care for my body, to do things that feel good to my body, sometimes to do things that challenge my body, to do things that are going to make me stronger, to do things that are going to give me better balance or better flexibility, coordination, all of the things that help make life easier, help make my quality of life better. And so movement is just really about connecting with your body in a very present way. When I was very focused on like exercise, it didn't matter what my body felt like.
Mindless,
it was like, bitch, you got to do this. Like you said, you said you was running 5 miles today. You running 5 miles today.
Yeah, no matter
it doesn't
what.
matter if you're sleepy. It doesn't matter if you're busy. It doesn't matter if you're tired. Like you're doing it. And so
ain't nobody ever stopped because of plantar fasciitis.
Like
Shin splints don't matter.
Especially in my 20s. It's like they say shin splints, run through them. Oh, okay. That's what you do. And I was a runner. So that's what I did. And, honestly, there was so much praise for, kind of beating your body up and hurting it that became the norm. It's like you don't...
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, I didn't move to feel good. I moved to maybe get stronger or get better endurance, but really to make my body look a certain way.
Yeah.
So movement now, and the way we present it, here at WeShape and in the challenges, is about compassion and caring for your body, not beating it up, not punishing it. We're not telling you to do this workout for 20 or 30 or 45 minutes because you probably had donuts yesterday. We don't care what you ate yesterday. We're saying it would be a great idea for you to try this movement, try these moves, try these positions, these stretches, these activities, because your body might actually like it. It might be good for you in some way. It might feel good in some way. And even when things, I think, the misnomer with exercise and with movement is that, if it can challenge you and still be good for you, right? And it can also challenge you and be bad for you because it doesn't feel good. So it's really about you knowing,
with it,
because what feels good to you, what fuels your body in a good way is not going to be the same as what fuels my body in a good way. So, trying the things, doing the moves, making modifications. Like movement to me is about the freedom. Mm-hmm. Like you might say, do this exercise and I can't do it.
Yeah.
And in the rigid world of fitness training and stuff, it's like, well, figure it out, figure it out, work harder, get stronger. But when we talk about movement and then just the way WeShape works in and of itself, it's about scalability. It's about modifications. It's about making it work for you. Mm-hmm. We're on these calls and people are like, I was doing the lunge and I tried it and I scaled it down and it still hurt. And I'm like, hey, that's okay. You can keep scaling down. And if you get down to the lowest level on the scales and it still doesn't feel good, guess what? You can skip that and walk in place until your body gets to a point where it's comfortable doing the thing. So for me, movement is about the freedom and the autonomy and the individuality of exercise, in the sense that I'm making this about me and not about what this thing or person or tool or system outside of me is telling me I should do or I better do. So.
Yeah, that's big. Should do or better do.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I have a slightly different way of thinking about this, but some of what you said is really echoed in this. specifically, I think that exercise and fitness in the industry is like quantity oriented.
100%.
You know, it's like if I'm working with energy systems, I'm pumping muscles, I'm pumping my heart, I'm either burning calories or I'm trying to add some muscle mass and tone up, right? And like rarely, I know people talk about quote unquote form, right? But rarely do people take the time to really unpack it and really make sure that even if something looks like it's moving well, are all the things that are supposed to be working to support that actually functioning properly?
Right. Yeah.
And so like to me, when we go exercise and we go to a program and we're just like add reps, add volume, add weight, add whatever, and we never took the time to say, is this being performed properly, in proper alignment, in the way the body is supposed to move, using the right musculature, making sure all the different aspects of this movement are like the boxes are checked for that. If you're not doing that and you keep adding volume and you keep adding, repetitions and distance and whatever it is that you're doing, it's like it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
One day you are going to wear your body
yourself
out and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And I only know this because of the amount of injuries I've sustained and surgeries and things I've had to come back from. And every single time, it wasn't, people get injured and they think it's about, oh, I'm injured because I'm too weak, or I'm injured because I'm too inflexible. And everything hurts because I'm too weak and too inflexible. And that's partly true. The other part of it is maybe you're not coordinated. Maybe you don't have good movement. And it's shocking to me the amount of people who I've been able to connect with through our coaching calls and whatnot that are like, oh, my knee hurts when I walk. Okay, try this. Oh, the pain's gone.
Right.
My shoulder hurts when I lift my arm up. Okay, try this. Your shoulder pain's gone.
Yeah.
Right? Back pain, like you name it, right? We have so many situations where people are just not informed how they're supposed to be moving.
Yeah.
And so instead of focusing on quantity, we're trying to get people to stop and focus on quality.
Quality, yep,
yeah. How
absolutely.
quality is the movement. And so, we spend an absurd amount of time trying to define the core cues and phrases that people need to hear in order to start moving properly and to make them as simple as possible. Like if I tell somebody to dorsiflex your ankle and fire your tibialis to stabilize your knee joint, like nobody cares. But if I say lift your toes to your nose, right, then it happens right away.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
taking the time to really understand how to communicate that in a way that's really simple, that encourages people to inadvertently just improve their movement quality.
Yeah.
It's so huge, and it changes your quality of life. And here's the kicker. You will gain strength and flexibility, balance, coordination, all these things that really make your body feel better. But what's cool about movement, a movement practice and intentionally learning to move better is that you can feel shitty and like 10 minutes later, you can feel better.
Absolutely.
Right? So there is this instantaneous piece to it that I think is really an aha moment for a lot of people when they pause and they say, I'm not going to be mindlessly exercising. We've all done the treadmill and watching a TV show kind of thing. And we don't look down and make sure that everything's functioning properly.
Right.
And instead of that, mindfully moving. Right? And I think it's a huge paradigm shift for a lot of people, but to me, it brings up so much more joy in fitness because you're not in there trying to see how hard you can make it for yourself and like punish yourself and walk away feeling exhausted. It's more like, am I doing this right? Am I practicing? It's more like learning a new skill. It's like art, right? Rather than this like scientific approach that you're trying to take with all this number quantification, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Quality. That's the
quality.
Yeah.
It's all about the quality of the movement. So, once we take people through this first week that's dedicated towards this concept of movement versus exercise, like let's get you moving and like teaching you how to care for your body. And we also talk about the fitness industry in that first week as well and just give people a sense of like, this is what's going on, right? But you're listening to the podcast, you know what we're talking about already. The second thing we focus on is intention, right? Because most people who join our Feel Good Challenge still got that thing in the back of their head. I'm joining this so I can lose 10 pounds, so I can do this thing, so I can fit in my clothes better. Like it's usually aesthetically oriented.
Right.
And as we've said a million times on this podcast, when our motivation is fueled by self-hatred and self-judgment and self-criticism, it will not last.
No.
It will not last, right? And we're rehearsing that. So that's how we're going to feel no matter what, because we're just practicing it over and over again.
Well, you don't build, a lot of times when people's intentions are to change the way their bodies look in order to start living their lives and having fun and having joy and feeling confident, I tell people like that's not real confidence. That's fake confidence.
Right.
Like confidence that's rooted in looking a certain way or having a certain thing. Those are external to who you are as a human.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the confidence in who you are as a human, becoming thinner is not going to give it to you. Will you get external validation? 1,000%. Will you be treated a little better? Might you have more people to date? Maybe. But it doesn't change the fact of the value of who you are as a person. And that value was there in whatever body that you had.
Yeah.
So intentions are deep because they guide everything that we do. And if I'm doing something with this intention, or this thought that it's going to make me have this body, and that is where my focus is, it doesn't matter how much strength I'm gaining from these new movement practices I've learned, how much more flexible I am, how much easier it is to get up, the stairs or get in and out of bed or in and out of a car. What matters is, has my body changed enough for me to want to stick this thing out? And for most people, what happens is if their bodies change at all, it's a fleeting thing. It changes back, or it doesn't change, or it doesn't change at the rate that people want it to. And so then what happens with your consistency or interest in this thing that's probably really good for you in some ways?
Fades away.
It just fades away because you don't have your intentions from the beginning were about a very superficial goal.
Yeah.
And that's not, I understand we all care about how we look. I get it. But when that's your focus, you are going to lose sight of the things that actually matter. So intention is huge, and establishing one that's deeply rooted and that's meaningful to you is what's going to keep you going,
I love that. You touched on something I think we touched on, and this is a little teaser. We have multiple levels of our challenge now, because after people went through the first one several times, they were like, well, what do I do next?
Right.
And we're like, we'll just keep going through it. And they're like, wow, this is getting boring. So we actually made 5 levels, and each level expands on these 4 concepts that we're talking about today and takes them a little bit deeper. So the premise on our movement side of the product is always, how do we start at the most baseline foundational thing that we need to learn and then scale up from there, right? So slowly make it harder and more challenging so that we make, quote unquote, progress in our ability to move with more quality and capacity. With the mindset side of things, the challenge really serves as this ability to start out with like, hey, here's where we're starting, and then we go deeper and deeper. And around intention, one of the things that we start to go deeper in is what you just alluded to, and this is present throughout, but it's certainly deeper in the higher levels, is, are you setting intentions that are extrinsically motivated? Like, I am doing this so someone will praise me or validate me, or I'll get recognition or credit. And it's okay if we start there, right?
Absolutely.
We got to start there. We can always go a little deeper on these, and these change every quarter, right? But can we slowly move towards intrinsic motivation?
Right.
And intrinsic motivation means like, this is my value.
This is me.
This is like me. This is who I am. And I do this to show up for me, not to get something from anybody else, right? And so that's what the intention is. And if I were to summarize it, what we ask people to do is ask themselves why they're here.
Yeah.
Right? Why are you here? And then tell them not to judge themselves when the first answer is to lose 20 pounds. Because then we can always ask that why over and over again. Why do you want to lose 20 pounds?
Each level.
Right? And you keep going, and almost everybody ends up, not always in intrinsic motivation, but they always end up with something a lot more meaningful.
Right.
Right? Like, I want to be able to show up for my kids or my grandkids or my partner, or I want to be able to do this trip and this hike I've always wanted to do. It's on my bucket list. And that's such a great place to start. It's taking somebody from superficial aesthetics to like showing up for something that's really important to you.
Absolutely.
And again, when you do this right, and if you bring this into your daily life, like I tell people often, like, write that down, put it next to your bed, put it in your car, like put it places you'll see it frequently. And then when you have that little voice in your head, that inner critic, which we talk about in higher levels too, starts to go, don't do the workout today. You got to do this and show up for these people and blah, blah, blah. You pause for a second. You go, no, actually, no, I'm gonna show up for myself because of the intention that I set, the reason.
And that voice is so different than that ugly voice. It's like, get off the couch, you lazy sack of shit, and do this. Is a positively reinforced, inner voice that's reminding you to do something that feels good for you, not because you have to make up for something you've done or because you're a lazy, horrible person, but because you deserve this, because you're really a wonderful person and you deserve this level of care and commitment and kindness and time and attention to yourself. So.
Yeah. And I think this is just a really good part just to mention. I think this is something I realized a long time ago that made me feel like I want more people to understand this. we really uplift people who are able to hate themselves enough to create like massive, like become the world's best.
Yeah.
You know, like the Michael Jordans of the world who are just like demonically driven to become the best. And we're like, well, they used their own self-hatred to get to where they are.
Yeah.
And then pause, and we don't realize they're still tortured. Most of the people who have risen to the top of sports and athleticism and aesthetics, right, have a lot of torture inside of them.
100%.
And so like, what's your outcome? Is your outcome that you want to be like the best in the world at this particular thing and recognize that if you use that self-hatred all the way there, that it's like, you know, like just such a small amount of people are able to have that much self-hatred and criticism of themselves that they're able to get to that place.
Right.
Most people just become a self-fulfilling prophecy and they end up not liking themselves and not caring for themselves along the way. So it's like, we got to realize that even in those situations where we all got this from, or we get this notion from that this is what you're supposed to do to get to that place, right? We need to like abandon that and realize that there's a few people that kind of got to where you are, but even on the inside, they're still miserable.
Absolutely.
Right? That's really important for people to understand. So after we go through the why and intentions, we jump into a topic that's very near and dear to my heart because it's an area where, to be totally honest, I struggled here. I still struggle here, I think, a little bit. It's hard to make sure that you prioritize things that you've deprioritized in your life, and then you realize they're important and you'll have to like start from scratch in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that topic is community.
Yeah, community.
And there's a premise that I like to talk about with community, and that's when we're trying to change our belief systems, when we're trying to like recognize this fitness industry and the society has made us feel horrible about ourselves, that this is a big ask. Like we're like trying to make some big changes. And the people around you in your life, some people might be supportive and be like, wow, I'm so happy that you're doing this for yourself. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's so lame. Have you tried this diet? Have you done this workout? Like, and you're going to feel like alone, right? And when you feel alone, you don't feel inspired. You don't feel safe. And when you don't feel safe, you can't change.
No.
And so we try to cultivate an incredibly strong community at WeShape, both in the challenge and just for people who are they're regular users coming in to use the product. So we have an integrated social media side of things. We have calls like every day of the week where people can connect and just share their struggles. We have Q&A calls with yourself and me in there as well. And I think all of this creates this really beautiful container that people can go and be themselves and do this work on this deeper inner work that we're ultimately asking people to do in the long run and feel safe. And they know like, okay, I can go show up in this community and people are just going to just let me be me and hold me through this. I'm not going to get judged or criticized. And they understand the journey I'm on.
They do. I think you said a big thing. There's safety. There's safety in good community. And, you know, if you don't have safety, it's hard to show up as your full self. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to be honest. It's hard to look in the mirror at the difficult parts, you know. And I know this sounds crazy. We're talking about a fitness challenge, but this is when you come into the WeShape community and you join the challenges, it really is about getting to the deeper parts of yourself. And if you don't have a safe community to do that in, it's almost impossible. And we don't, you know, I never negate the importance of alone time and downtime and, you know, times where we sort of pull away and work on ourselves alone, but we don't really heal alone. Like we have to get back into community. Isolation is really just, you know, it's a recipe for deep, dark depression, you know, especially if it's prolonged. So community is huge within the challenge, within WeShape, and within the world. Like we have to have people we can connect with and be ourselves with and open up to. And, you know, everybody's community isn't going to be huge, and that's fine. But just a few good people that you can trust, that you can lean on, that you can talk to, that you know is going to hold space for you and not present you with judgment and criticism, but with kindness and compassion. And the caveat to this is, you know, WeShape has an amazing community. I always talk about this. You and I have talked about this. Me and Katie have talked about this. We find the best people. I don't know where they come from, but it's like we get the best people, the energy. If you believe anything about energy and just engaging with people and how it can just be a source of inspiration, we have some of the best people I've ever met in my life. And it's beautiful. But if you haven't gotten to a point where you offer yourself any of that compassion or love or kindness, it's hard to even receive from your community. Now, that doesn't mean you don't show up. You still come, and it'll catch eventually, but it's hard when you haven't offered yourself that love and compassion to then be in community where people are trying to give it to you.
Yeah, it's hard.
And you don't know how to take it, and you definitely don't know how to give it back all the time. But it's important. It's a skill worth honing and worth practicing and worth showing up for every day, even if for the first, few weeks nothing really changes for you. Over time it will. But community is just super important in healing any and everything that you're going through, especially as it relates to the toxicity that we've absorbed our whole lives from diet culture and mainstream fitness culture. The healing process is absolutely necessary, and that's something we like to cultivate here at WeShape to help you heal from that so that you can move on to bigger and better things,
Yeah, and I think, another part about the community that I think is so essential is like we have this epidemic of loneliness and this desire to be like self-reliant in our healing, right? And as you mentioned, we heal in connection with another. We're supposed to learn how to love ourselves by really embracing someone else loving us, right? And then we learn that feeling, and then we can cultivate it from within rather than needing it from the outside. And I have my own stories and I have my ways of talking about things, but here I am like a fit, younger white man, and like I can't relate to our people all that great. And you have your story, and maybe you relate to some people. When we open the community up, and especially when we allow everyone just to share their stories, all of a sudden what I notice is that maybe 10 people share a story, but those 10 people are each talking to 20, 30, 40, 50 people who are like, that's my story.
That's my story.
That's my story. And it gives people a lot more sense of, I'm not alone.
No, it's
I am
belonging.
connected. We're all struggling with the same things, right? And when we can get around people who understand that struggle a little bit more and maybe have taken a few more steps down the road than us, then they can look at us while we're making those steps and be like, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. And that's easier to believe sometimes than like, you're deserving of love, right? It's like, just, it's okay. You're doing your best, So yeah, I've seen so many amazing things in our community, people connecting with each other, becoming lifelong friends, going on cruises together, right? And so, just don't neglect the importance of community. It's just so critical for your overall health and happiness in the long run. And the last topic that we're going to cover is the last week that we focus on in the challenge is around beliefs. And
this is big.
I'll tell you the simple thing that I want everybody to walk away from when we're talking about beliefs, and that is you do not have to believe all the thoughts you think. And I don't know about you, but like that's like new to me still, like it's pretty damn new. There was a point not that long ago where it was like I was so in my head that I was just identified with those thoughts, and like that was who I was. There was no space between thought and action. There was no distance between my mind and my body, right? It was just like everything was all the time. And it was through a lot of personal work that I was able to create some space and recognize finally like what people talk about in lots of different books around meditation and mindfulness is like, you don't have to be the thoughts. You can witness the thoughts, and then even more beautifully, you can choose whether you want to believe those thoughts and embody those thoughts.
Absolutely.
And I think so many of us don't have that experience, or even are encouraged to attempt to have those experiences, and then we end up asleep at the wheel, and our whole life is just a series of reactions based on our conditioning from when we were younger.
Yeah, and I think, that's something we talk about here a lot, is a lot of the beliefs that we even come to the table with weren't ours to begin with. They're just things that we've accepted because we've heard them. Like you said, we've conditioned to believe this is what it is. We haven't challenged them. We haven't stopped and said, like, do I really believe this? Do I want to believe this?
Yeah.
How is this belief serving me?
Well, where did this come from?
Where did it come from? And especially as it relates to, the topic of fitness and health and your body, if a lot of your beliefs are rooted in negativity, there's something to really, unpack there. Because why? Yeah. Why would we be on this vast, beautiful earth with these beautifully capable, amazing bodies, and the vast majority of our thoughts around them be negative and nasty and mean and critical? Does that feel good?
No. I have yet to meet someone who has done some deeper self-reflection through our challenge that didn't have an event or a story or a series of them that caused them to have that low self-esteem and a desire to change the way they look in the first place, including myself. Right? We all have these stories and memories and events of people mistreating us, telling us that our value lies in how we look, making fun of us, right? And making us feel horrible. And those negative feelings, especially when we're young and we don't have anybody who can walk us through that journey and say, listen, when people do that to you, it's really about them and their judgment. It's not about you. Like, we're not taught that. We just, so we just internalize it. And we just go, oh, like, I'm fat, and that's because I'm lazy, and so I need to go kick my own butt so that I don't have to be fat anymore. And then it's just like this negative spiral. And really, it was because you had a aunt or whatever who would constantly focus on your body image when you were a kid. And that was a pattern you inherited.
You inherited that, and it wasn't yours, but you took it on, and you try to use that as much of, many of the people, and I think the world do, you try to use that negative comment, those negative thoughts, those negative words as motivation to be better.
I'll show you.
And it's funny because I think we could probably poll a lot of people and they would feel like, I'm motivated by negative stuff. I'm motivated by people saying mean things to me. And perhaps you are, but really, I don't believe that anything beautiful and bountiful and self-sustaining grows from like little seeds of shame and hatred and mean. Like, I think we grow into beautiful, strong, healthy, happy, whole beings from good stuff, from self-love and compassion and kindness and gratitude and joy, not from, I look so bad, I gotta change, or they talked about me so bad in middle school, I've gotta go back and show them. Like, we don't get anywhere. Like, we're literally letting these thoughts and these people's opinions and what we've absorbed from diet culture, like, live rent-free in our brains and propelling us to be something that may not even be who we really want to be. So when we shed away all of the nonsense and all the extra, and we get down to like what we really believe at a very basic level about ourselves, about our worth, about, our motivations or inspirations, whatever it is, but to really get to know ourselves and what matters. And then we can start to move from that direction. Like, this is what's inspiring me and pushing me, because I know inherently, no matter what I look like, I'm a good person. I know that I want to love myself. I want to love others. I want to be a, instrument of kindness and peace and love and joy. That's the stuff that gets us. And who knows what your body looks like as a result of centering that. But in my opinion, you have to be at peace with it because it's coming from such a good place and it's rooted in something meaningful. Just like when we talk about the intentions piece of it, it's rooted in something that's meaningful and impactful and powerful, and that you believe on a very, very deep level. So
I like how you said that, we're inspired by fear. But we don't call this the run afraid and get skinny challenge, right? We call this the feel good challenge, right? Because think about it. Like, this is, I think this is just not, like, I want to say this a million times because I just don't get the sense that people are really hearing it. And that is like, when we operate from a place of fear, sure, we might go that direction, but we are living in fear, and we will end up in fear, and we will finish that journey in fear. And so, like, what do we want the journey to end like? We want to have love. We want to have gratitude. We want to have joy. And so you have to learn now, right now, how to operate from that place. You have to use joy and gratitude and love and
not once you get the body
right now to motivate you to take care of this beautiful body that we all have, right? And again, it's just like, I think we get so locked into the fear being the best motivator. And like, there's a reason for that, right? Like, when the tiger jumped out in the woods, like, we needed to be afraid because it was survival, right? Even when communities would treat us differently, we would have to conform for survival, right? It's not that way anymore. There's more freedom of ability to choose who you want to be. And if your ultimate outcome is to feel good in your body and about your body, it will never happen unless you start with, I need to show up for myself because I feel valuable. I feel like I'm worth it. Right. And it doesn't have to feel like big and like you've nailed this on day one. It's like, I'm worthy enough to carve out 10 minutes today.
Yeah.
And then a day or two later, I'm worthy enough for another 10 minutes. And then it slowly builds from there.
Yeah. Yep. And those beliefs, those positive beliefs about ourselves, when we believe negative things about ourselves, and it makes us change habits, again, that stuff doesn't stick with us long, and there's nothing really rewarding about it at the end, because we still feel bad about ourselves.
Yeah.
But if we start with the notion that I am a good person, I am a worthy person, I'm a valuable person who deserves time for this thing, these new habits or whatever, it comes from a place that's just about kindness and just about the self-respect that we all deserve to give ourselves, that we give freely to other people, right? So I think, the beliefs for me are really the cornerstone of how you're able to, do this challenge and go levels 1 through level 5, because you literally are feeling better and better about yourself every day. And by participating, you are showing it's like an act of rebellion against mainstream diet and fitness culture, and an act of like radical self-love and acceptance to be like, oh, I'm doing this for me. It doesn't matter. I'm not pressed about what I look like at the end of this. I'm pressed about what I feel like at the end of this. And I want more of that feeling.
Yeah. And it's good. Like you said, from the get-go, people either feel like they got bamboozled and they're out because they really wanted to just do a fitness challenge to lose some weight, which is fine. Hey, you're not ready for the message right now.
Yeah, that's okay.
You will be one day.
But you'll be back.
For the people who go through it and take it to heart, again, like these are life transforming experiences.
Right.
Like looking at yourself in the mirror and not judging the way you look anymore. And like I remember one lady, it's just such an impactful phrase she said. She's 60 something years old and said, like, I have walked past the mirror and hated myself for 60 years. And for the first time ever, I walk past the mirror and I appreciate myself. And like, oh my God, it just makes me want to cry to understand that people have spent and really, really wasted their whole life just like stuck in self-criticism and self-judgment. And like, that's what this challenge is about. It's about feeling good in your body, like learning how to move and feel good in your body. And look, how does this body work and how do I connect with it? And also, how do I feel good about my body? Because I don't have to hate myself anymore.
And it's, the other thing before we finish, the WeShape challenges to me give you that permission, to say, because again, when you step into modern, mainstream fitness, toxic diet culture, fitness challenges and all that stuff, it really is about like you're starting here and the goal is we need to get you over here because you're going to be better over here at the end of this if you look this way and you do these things. And they're not building appreciation in your body. They're helping you figure out how to make it look different, maybe feel different too, but primarily look different. And I think when people come into the WeShape challenge, we give them the permission off the bat to like be accepting and kind and nice to their bodies and to appreciate them for what their bodies have been able to carry them through. Sometimes when we're on like the weekly coaching calls, I remind people like we're so hard on ourselves and we don't even take a moment to be like, my body got me through a global pandemic. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah. All 50, 60 years of my life or whatever it may be, right?
We've been through some shit. For some people, your body has birthed children. You've fought in battles, you've, gotten through sicknesses, cancer, disease, like all kinds of things. So the fact that we can be so judgmental and critical of these bodies that have literally carried us through our existence on this earth, it used to be a norm, but now it's like, how could I be that way? How could I treat myself that way? And my body has never deserved it. And so I think that the beautiful thing about our challenges is that it gives people the permission to find the gratitude in our bodies and to accept and appreciate them without any, caveat. Like, oh, but if you lose this, none of that matters. It's just appreciating it as it is, if and when it ever changes, if it never changes. Just appreciation.
It's moving the goalpost.
Yep.
Right? It's not about the number on the scale, because we've all had that experience that we look down on the number and we feel crappy about ourselves. And then I'm like, hey, you going to let that box dictate how you feel about yourself?
Yes.
And so many people do it. They punish themselves every day doing this. And it's instead, let's move the goalpost away. How many positive thoughts did you have about yourself today? How many times did you catch yourself having those negative thoughts? Were you able to show up for a movement session really thinking to yourself, like, I want to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've said this before in previous episodes, but like if you're showing up for your workouts the same reason you're showing up to brush your teeth, right? You're like, I deserve to have clean teeth and I want to have clean teeth. I want to feel good. You show up for the same reason you decide to take a shower because it feels so good to feel clean, right? If your workout doesn't make you feel good afterwards and ultimately it makes you feel bad in your body and bad about your body, it's not serving you.
It is
and,
not
and we got to
serving you.
change that. And that's what we're trying to do with this challenge.
And last thing, I always want people to just think about this. Who benefits from you hating your body?
The people selling all the stuff.
There you go. There you go. You don't benefit from it, but the people who are set on creating products and programs and ways for you to spend your money and ways to keep you preoccupied with your body for the rest of your life, like your entire life, that's who benefits, not you. So just give it a try. See what it's like to on the other side of not hating your body and wanting it to beat it into submission, but just valuing and respecting it where it is. And I guarantee you things will change and be different. But you have to try it for yourself.
You got to try it for yourself. And like Lisa said, one thing that we do with our challenges is we do them for free.
Yep.
Right. At least for the time being, they're still free.
Get on while you can.
It's just our way of saying, hey, let's just do something cool for our community.
Yeah.
Let's let the people who end up really getting what we're trying to do here, decide to go deeper with us and join up. And let's really do this as a service where we can help a lot of people who maybe they don't have the resources to become part of WeShape. But oftentimes I'll see people coming through a challenge and then I'll see them months later when they finally said, you know what, I went and tried some other things and I had to come back here because it was the place that really taught me the truth, right?
Yeah.
The truth, which is like, I need to learn how to care for my body and I need to learn how to show up from a positive place. Otherwise, I'm just going to be miserable. So
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening today.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys join one of our challenges, right? I know we have one coming up right now. So make sure you check that out, WeShape.com/challenge. And otherwise, thanks for listening to the show. We'll see you next week.
Bye.